Maybe a good omen out there with DaRon Holmes being selected yesterday. Now, it wasn't the second round pick, and he wasn't anywhere near 41 where Joker was selected. But Stoke, yesterday was the 10-year anniversary of Nikola Jokic being picked by the Denver Nuggets.
Oh, that's cool.
And then 10 years later, here we are with DaRon Holmes being picked. Another big fella, obviously not a European, and they weren't airing a Quesarito Taco Bell commercial during it. But, hey, 10-year anniversary, 3 MVPs, a finals MVP, 6 All-Stars, 6 All-Pros, and a world freaking championship in 10 years. Not a bad get there, Tim Conley. Not bad at all.
No, not bad at all. So I'm on the ESPN draft page, right? And so I click on the Denver Nuggets. In the first round, with the 28th pick, the Denver Nuggets select Ryan Dunn, School of Virginia.
Oh, my gosh, dude.
Like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, what are we doing here? Because that's who the Suns took.
Yes.
That's who the Suns wanted. So that's it. But it's still up there. And that's what's up there right now under the Denver Nuggets. This is how confusing this thing is. So if you just click on, the NBA draft and you go to it, it is showing the Nuggets took Ryan Dunn. And so you assume, like most rational people with a working brain, that Ryan Dunn is a part of the Nuggets.
Yes.
He got drafted by the Nuggets. And so just really ridiculous. And now I got to go to Phoenix to see our player that we got. And there he is, DaRon Holmes, with the 22nd pick in the draft. But the question I had, Josh,
I want to know your question. Let's see if we can answer this.
DaRon Holmes, right? And he profiles just like a guy on our team that we just gave a lot of money to, and that's Zeke Naji. And it's like, okay, so now what's going to happen with Zeke Naji? Like, is he going to be on the court at all for us this year? Because I think it's going to be DaRon Holmes. I mean, Zeke Naji, you look, he's 6'9", 240. And they have DaRon Holmes here at 6'9", 236.
Okay.
So on ESPN. I mean, so they profile exactly the same.
DaRon looks much taller than Zeke is. Zeke's bigger, but
I saw 6'10" before.
Okay.
They have him at 6'9". I don't know, but they're similar in stature there. So you look in the situation, and to your point, when it's like the signing of Zeke Naji makes no sense. It didn't make any sense then, and it's making less sense now. And you got these young guys that are going to be getting the playing time, and there's just no room here for Zeke Naji, and you're paying him how much money?
Double digits.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's
12 million bucks,
right around
15
12
million
million,
bucks,
yeah.
something like that a year. Not ideal to be spending that type of money on a guy that's not going to see the court much at all.
No, and what Chap talked about. Actually, it's a little bit lower, 7 to 8 million for Zeke, but that's still too much for a guy like Zeke Naji that, as you mentioned, isn't going to touch the floor. And Chap said trade Zeke and Reggie for a backup shooting guard or small forward, however you look at KCP, and let Christian Brown slide in there. But it's the same thing. What are you going to get for an aging point guard in Reggie Jackson? I think he can help, but he is getting older, and a player that he's not good enough athletically or shooting the ball to play 3, and he's too small to play a 4 or 5. I don't know what you get back for that combo. You know what I mean? I don't have a name off the top of my head, and I have to look at some players that are open. But Zeke Naji and Reggie Jackson, that doesn't get you a starter. That's not going to move the needle a ton.
No, you don't just put like bad player, old player together, and all of a sudden you got a top 10 player in the league. Yeah, we're going to just trade all these guys and give us this great player. I mean, that's not how this stuff works, unfortunately for us. So it's I don't like who's going to trade for Zeke Naji and Reggie Jackson. Like, I mean, so Reggie's making like $5 million, Zeke's making $8 million bucks, and he's got I'm looking at his contract here.
Zeke's.
It's really depressing, is what it is. No, I'm serious. I'm not. This isn't a joking matter. It's depressing, is what it is. So, oh my gosh. So it's just kicking in this year, his extension. So he's got this year coming up, 24-25, right? That's where we're at.
Yep.
And he's going to be making $8 million bucks or whatever, close to 9. And then next year, same type of deal. And then we got him under contract again. He's still here, 26-27, Josh.
Jeez.
So that's 3 more years. Wow. He's making like 8, 7.5, something like that. Here's the kicker. In 27-28, I know it's a long time away, folks, he's got a player option. They gave this guy a player option?
Oh, my God.
Why would you give him a player option? This is the dumbest contract
Oh, my God.
that, well, I can't say I've ever seen because we've seen Chris Bryant, we've seen Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
So, but this is just
Basketball-wise.
this is such a and it's not the biggest of money, right? But it's just dumb. Just what a dumb contract to give a guy that never did anything, hasn't done anything, and then you give him a player option. On top of that, I don't get it, man. I'm hoping that like some miracle happens and it's like abracadabra, whack, and it's like this is why we did it. Look, we got to trade him, and we get this for him, and we get this, mid-level exception because we paid this guy all this money for nothing.
Yep.
I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for the I got you moment. You didn't see it, and here it is. Wham. So let me know when that happens. But this contract is depressing. What a bad contract for the Nuggets.
Yeah, because you know what the gotcha moment is right now? Zeke got them.
Yeah. Well, what did we talk about whenever Calvin Booth called up his agent to tell him they were going to give him an extension? Like, could you imagine the excitement from the agent?
You're talking about Zeke Naji, right?
Yeah.
My client? You want to do this?
Wait, is this a joke? Is this like Impractical Joker? Like, what is going like, are you serious? Okay, wait. And like, imagine if you're Zeke Naji. You haven't done anything.
No.
And all of a sudden they want to pay you like $8.5 million a year. You got 4 years of guaranteed money.
They could have put $32 million in a briefcase, a couple of rocks in it, and thrown it in like Boulder Reservoir.
Yes.
And you get the same thing out of it.
That's what it's been, unfortunately.
I can't believe they gave him a player option. I'm upset about that.
I am too. I'm very upset. Just ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
I like, wow. And these are the guys that have seen him, the most. Who signs off on that? Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's a fireable offense, but damn. Damn. I mean, golly. It is awful. And then, we're talking about the aprons and all this stuff. Well, this $8.5 million doesn't help our situation.
Not at all.
That's
a great point.
You can't make these bad moves like this whenever you have a cap situation the way that it is, and you're trying to win a dang championship. This stuff can cost you. So, like I said, I'm waiting for the smarter people, right, to like say, this is why we did it. Look at this. We got this, and we wouldn't have got it if we didn't give this guy all this money. So I'll wait for that. And then if that happens, I'll say, we were wrong, Josh.
Yeah.
We were wrong, man. They knew better than us. But right now, it doesn't look like they know anything.
And that's a great point you're making about that apron. There's $8 million right there. That's just sitting on the bench doing nothing.
I mean, could we use a backup center?
Sure could.
Could we use a backup point guard?
Think about that. You're going to get Andre Drummond for $2 million, and Zeke's going to cost you $7 million and not touch the floor. You're right, man. That is a really bad contract. One of the worst in the little, I don't know what we'll call it, the Conley transition into Booth era. You know what I mean? Like, not good. Not good at all from Calvin Booth.
Yeah, no.
Because Conley picked him, but then Calvin re-signed him.
Well, when was he picked? Let me look here. I got it coming up here. He was picked 23rd. No, that's how old he is. 22nd pick in 2020. Like, sometimes you miss on those guys.
Yeah.
And also, DaRon Holmes got picked 22nd.
Right.
So his replacement. Sometimes you miss on that.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, like mid-20s, like you're taking flyers on guys hoping they develop.
Mm-hmm. And
sometimes they don't develop. Guess what? Guess what you don't do?
You don't give them another contract?
You don't double down on a mistake because then it becomes a worse mistake, right? You just say, hey, we made a mistake. It's time to move on. You don't double down on that mistake because then you look foolish, more foolish. And so I wonder what Tim Connolly would have done in that situation. I don't think he would have gave him a contract extension like that. So bad deal for the Nuggets, and a deal that could really hurt them moving forward because this isn't like a thing where and it's making me sick to my stomach is what it's doing because, like, looking at this contract, teams will trade for bad players with expiring contracts.
Of course.
This guy's contract doesn't end to 27, 28. Like 2027, 2028. I can't even think that far ahead.
No. That's
so this thing isn't expiring.
No.
This thing is like, it's got years on it. I mean, we got 4 years left. And
he's going to be a Nugget for 8 years.
And do what is it? He's just going to do like Richard Jefferson? We're just going to keep him on the bench just to be like what is he going to do for the Nuggets? Because I guarantee you, like, they're hoping that DaRon Holmes ends up being that guy.
Yeah, of course.
And then so, like, where are the minutes going to come from? You got Strother, you got Peyton Watson. Like, this dude, unless it's like he's going to play in games where we're sitting, our top 3 or 4 guys. Okay, well, then maybe we'll play Zeke Najee.
Yeah.
Someone gets hurt, but this guy gets hurt a lot too. I just think that you're looking at this contract, and I want someone smarter than me that knows basketball better than me to help me out and hopefully make me feel better about this situation with Zeke Najee. But the more you look into it, the more it's a head scratcher.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we look into this, it gets worse and worse. And then here we are. We drafted the same guy that profiles just like this guy that we paid, a year or so ago and gave him all that money. And now we drafted his replacement, and we got 4 more years with this guy. And that's the biggest problem here, is you got a window to win a championship, and this doesn't help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really bad. It's not a good look. It's a really bad contract, and certainly not helping with their financial situation with the tax apron. And then you bring up the bench. Look at what the bench is now after DaRon gets drafted last night. Reggie Jackson, Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, Julian Strother, DaRon Holmes. You brought up Vlatko Chanchar. Where's he going to fit in? He's a part of that. I don't think he's a huge rotation player. But
is he coming back? Like I saw.
He is coming back.
Okay, but like minimum type of deal.
Yeah, they declined his player option, so they can give him. They're going to give him more term. A little less money, so he'll have some longer security, but it's not going to be the number that it was.
What do you mean longer? What are they doing?
Like a 2-3 year deal.
Oh, okay.
As an extension type of thing.
Okay.
But I mean, Vlatko's a good guy, and he's best buds with Joker, and that's fun, but he's not the savior off the bench either. He can shoot it from time to time, but he's not great defensively, and if he's not knocking it down, he's probably not good enough to be on the floor because he can't do much else. So that's the bench. So we're talking about Vlatko's the odd man out. There's no room for Zeke.
And he was hurt all this year, right?
Yeah, he had like an ACL or Achilles
right.
or something.
So, all right, so we didn't even get a chance to see him this year.
Is that good enough for you off the bench? Reggie, CB, Watson, Strother, Holmes?
Well, not CB. We got to project him to be in the starting lineup.
Fair. That's a fair point.
KCP gone. Look, you don't have a lot of options, right? I mean, you really don't. You're Strother, Peyton Watson, and a little bit of DaRon Holmes. I guess you're going to have, maybe some Konkar and some Zeke Najee if you want to. Is it good enough? No, I mean, I like to feel better about it, but that's kind of what it's going to be. And maybe you get a veteran guy in here that can add to the mix. But this is probably going to be, unless they make a big time trade, I don't see much else that they're going to be able to do here with their contracts, unless it's a veteran, on a minimum type of deal.
Okay.
I mean, what do you feel? I mean, how do you feel? I mean, I don't think we can feel great about it, right?
I mean, I feel better about that than I constantly have to stagger 2 starters with the bench, and then that screws up what's happening in the latter part of the fourth quarter because of minutes and not getting, if you don't have to stagger as much, and you can't get away from that completely, but if you don't have to stagger the way Malone had to stagger starters with bench players last night, you get 8 minutes of the starters to finish the fourth quarter, rather than 8 minutes of Nikola, 6 minutes of Nikola and AG, and then 5.5 minutes with Nikola, AG, and Jamal. You know what I'm saying? So you get to finish stronger than any game they really got to finish in last year because of what Jamal was having to do playing with the bench and then coming back halfway through the fourth quarter sometimes to help finish the game out. So it gives you a little bit better option as closing because you're going to, knock on wood, hopefully trust some of those guys to play heavier minutes.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the rotation looks like. And, we know Jokic is, and when he comes in, when he comes out, and see how Michael Malone views that with him and Jamal and this group moving forward, especially if KCP's not back this next year. So it's going to be interesting to see if how much change is there with his rotation. Does he mess with it a little bit, tinker with a few things, try a few things, different things out, and see what fits best with this team? But I just, unless they make a big trade here, for Michael Porter Jr. or Jamal, Other than that, or Aaron Gordon, you're probably not going to see much change here with this group, and especially the group coming off the bench.
This is a great text. RamosLaw.com text line B. They call themselves just B. Yo, I'm Cuban, B. Says Najee could at least be the new Rocky and earn a little bit of that paycheck.
He's too tall.
Oh, that's
Too
right.
tall.
You got to be 5'9" or smaller.
Yeah, too tall, unfortunately. So, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, we can find some. He's a piano player, so maybe, well, I guess that's hockey when you do the ding, 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 right? Or do they do that?
Baseball.
Baseball. Don't they have an organist? Is that a term?
Sure.
I think they have that in hockey too.
Do they?
I think so.
I think that's more baseball to me.
Okay.
But maybe it is hockey too.
Now it's just somebody hitting a space bar on a computer.
Yeah,
No
but
one's
to me
actually up there.
that's I think a baseball.
Okay.
I think.
All right. Well, hey, you can do that too if you want to there, Zeke Najee.